"Dad, that street vendor looks like your missing brother," the boy tells the wealthy businessman. Michael Thompson felt the world stop when his 7-year-old son Ethan tugged hard on his hand in the middle of bustling Broadway in New York City. The boy was insistently pointing at a hot dog vendor working on a corner near the office they had just left. "Dad, that man over there looks just like Uncle Daniel from Grandma's photos," Ethan said, with the conviction only children possess. Michael followed his son's finger and felt his blood run cold. The man in the dark cap, plain shirt and calloused hands bore an uncanny resemblance to his younger brother, who had disappeared from the family 15 years earlier after a terrible fight. Daniel had been just 22 when he left home and never made contact again. "It can't be him, Ethan. Let's go," Michael murmured, but his legs seemed rooted to the ground. The street vendor, as if sensing the weight of their gaze, turned his face toward them. For a second that felt like an eternity. The two men locked eyes through the passing crowd. Michael immediately recognized those brown eyes, identical to his own, and the same chin shape they had inherited from their father. Daniel recognized him too. His face twisted in panic, and abandoning his food cart entirely, he vanished into the pedestrians like a ghost. "Why did he run away, Dad?" Ethan asked, confused. Michael couldn't answer. He was 25 again, reliving his last argument with his brother, when cruel words were spoken and could never be taken back. The whole drive back to their home in the Upper East Side was silent. Ethan hummed in the back seat, oblivious to the storm of emotions raging inside his father. When they arrived at their luxurious apartment, Jennifer, Michael's wife of 12 years, immediately noticed something was wrong. "What happened?" "You're pale," she said, helping Ethan take off his school backpack. "Nothing important, just a long day at the office," Michael lied, avoiding his wife's sharp gaze. Jennifer knew him too well to believe that excuse, but decided not to press in front of their son. Ethan, however, had no filter. "Mom, we saw Uncle Daniel selling hot dogs on the street," the boy blurted, creating an awkward silence in the room. Jennifer looked back and forth between her husband and son, processing the information. She knew Daniel was a forbidden topic in their home. Michael never spoke about his brother and shut down whenever she tried to bring him up. "Ethan, go take a bath. We'll talk later," Michael said with a firmness that brooked no argument. When they were alone, Jennifer approached her husband. "Was it really him?" "I don't know. Maybe. Probably just someone who looks like him." Michael wavered between hope and fear. "Michael, if it's your brother, if it's my brother." "What, Jennifer?" 15 years have passed. He chose to leave our lives. I'm not chasing after someone who doesn't want to be found." The argument was cut short when Ethan reappeared in the living room in his pajamas. "Dad, can we go down his street again tomorrow? I want to give Uncle a drawing." Michael sighed, realizing this wouldn't be easily dropped. The next morning, on the way to Ethan's school, Michael took an accidental detour down Broadway. His heart raced when he spotted the hot dog cart on the same corner, but this time the vendor wore a cap pulled even lower over his face. "It's him, Dad!" Ethan shouted excitedly. This time Daniel didn't run. He stood still, preparing a snack for a customer, though his hands trembled visibly. Michael parked the car and watched from a distance. The man was too thin, with premature wrinkles and a hunched posture that didn't match the 37 years Daniel should have been now. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers out. Now, continuing. Ethan tried to get out of the car, but Michael held him back. "No, son, we can't bother the man while he's working." "But Dad, if he's my uncle, he needs to know we want to meet him." The simplicity of a child's logic hit Michael like a punch. All morning at the office, he couldn't focus on anything. His secretaries noticed he attended meetings like an automaton, his mind always elsewhere. At lunch, instead of going to his usual restaurant, Michael walked to Broadway. The food cart was there, with a small line of customers. He positioned himself behind a newsstand and watched. Daniel worked efficiently, spoke little to customers, and had a careful way of preparing the food. He wore disposable gloves and kept everything organized. He didn't seem like the rebellious, carefree young man Michael remembered. When the line thinned, Michael approached. Daniel looked up and the brothers stood face to face for the first time in 15 years. "Hi, Daniel." "Michael." His voice was hoarse, heavy with exhaustion. "I knew you'd come back. My son recognized you yesterday. He said you looked like the pictures of our mother." Daniel looked away, nervously rearranging condiments. "How is she?" "She passed 3 years ago," Michael replied, watching the pain flash across his brother's face. "Pneumonia. It was quick." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment as if digesting the news. Did she ask about me?" "Every day, until the end." The silence that followed was thick with remorse. Michael realized his brother was fighting back tears. "I wanted to go to the funeral," Daniel whispered. "Why didn't you? You must have seen it in the papers. Mom was well known in the neighborhood." "Because I didn't have the right. Not after what I did." "Daniel, about that fight—" "No." Daniel cut him off sharply. "I don't want to talk about it. You made it very clear back then what you thought of me." A customer approached the cart, and Daniel focused on serving them, signaling the conversation was over. Michael stood there a few more minutes, but realized pushing further wouldn't help. "Daniel, my son wants to meet you. Maybe we could—" "Don't drag the kid into this, Michael. He has nothing to do with our problems. He has a name, Ethan, and he's your nephew." Daniel looked at Michael with a wounded expression. "I know his name, and I know I'm not worthy of being anyone's uncle." Michael returned to the office even more confused than before. The conversation hadn't clarified anything, just reopened old wounds. All afternoon he thought about the bitterness in his brother's voice and what he'd meant by "not after what I did." That night at dinner, Ethan bombarded his father with questions about his uncle. "Did he like meeting me? When's he coming to our house? Why does he work on the street if he's your brother?" Jennifer watched her husband struggle with their son's innocent questions. She'd known Michael long enough to recognize when he was hiding something important. "Ethan, Uncle Daniel has his own life. We can't just show up and expect everything to be like before," Michael tried to explain. "But why not? My friends' uncles always visit and bring gifts." "Some families are different, son." "Different how?" Michael sighed, realizing he was being cornered by the relentless logic of a 7-year-old. "Sometimes people fight and don't talk for a long time." "But you've made up now, right? You talked to him today." "It's not that simple, Ethan." "Why isn't it simple? When I fight with Jacob at school, we're friends again the next day." Jennifer hid a smile. Ethan had touched on a fundamental issue that adults made far too complicated. After Ethan went to bed, Jennifer confronted her husband. "You need to tell me what really happened between you two." "I already did. We fought about the family business. Daniel was irresponsible and—" "Michael, stop. I know when you're lying. 15 years of separation don't happen over a business argument." Michael ran his hands through his hair, a gesture Jennifer recognized as a sign of extreme stress. "It's complicated, Jennifer." "Then uncomplicate it for me. I'm your wife, not a stranger." Michael looked her in the eyes and realized he couldn't avoid the truth any longer. "When my father had the heart attack, he left the company to both of us in equal shares. I was 25 and Daniel was 22. I'd already been working there for 3 years. I knew all the processes. Daniel had just graduated with a business degree but had no real experience." Jennifer settled onto the couch, sensing this would be a long story. "The first few months we tried working together, but Daniel wanted to modernize everything too fast. He wanted to invest in technology, hire new people, expand. I thought we needed to be more conservative to solidify what we already had." "And that's when you started fighting?" "Worse than that. We started competing, each of us trying to prove our vision was right. The company became a battleground. Employees didn't know who to listen to. Clients noticed the instability and some cancelled contracts." Michael paused, reliving that difficult time. "Within 6 months, the company my father had spent 20 years building was on the verge of bankruptcy." "And that's when you fought?" "That's when I found out Daniel had taken out huge loans without consulting me. He'd used the company as collateral and racked up debts 3 times our annual revenue." Jennifer's eyes widened. "My God, Michael. When I confronted him, Daniel said it was to save the company, that with that money, we could restructure and grow again. I lost it. I yelled at him, called him irresponsible, said he'd destroyed our father's legacy. And what did he say? Nothing. He just looked at me with that expression of his, like he was disappointed in me, not himself, like I was the one in the wrong. Michael stood and walked to the window, gazing at the city lights. The next day, he took all his things and left. He left a letter saying he was resigning his share and that I could have everything. He just gave up. Worse, he took on all the debt himself, signed papers transferring full financial responsibility to his name. Within a week, I was the sole owner of a clean, debt-free company. Jennifer processed this in silence. Michael, have you ever considered that maybe Daniel took those loans precisely to save the company, and that when he realized he'd caused problems, he took full responsibility to protect you? No. He was young, impulsive. He didn't think about consequences. Or maybe he thought more than you realized, Jennifer countered. Michael, your brother took on millions in debt and disappeared. Have you ever wondered how he paid it all off? How he even survived? Michael had never considered that. For 15 years, he'd built a narrative where he was the victim, and Daniel the irresponsible one who nearly destroyed everything. But Jennifer's words planted a seed of doubt. And there's one more thing, Jennifer continued. I've always known where your brother was. Michael turned, disbelief on his face. What do you mean? Your mother told me 5 years ago. She never lost touch with Daniel. He would send her letters, no return address, always with some money inside. Small amounts, but he sent them religiously every month. That's impossible. Mom never told me anything. Because you made it clear you didn't want to hear about him. Your mother suffered in silence, torn between her two sons. Michael felt as if the ground had opened beneath his feet. Jennifer, why did you never tell me this? Because I promised your mother I wouldn't, and because you were so convinced Daniel was the villain in this story that you wouldn't have believed me. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, Michael couldn't focus at work. Jennifer's revelations had shaken all his certainties. During lunch, he returned to Broadway, but this time with a different purpose. Daniel saw him approaching and sighed resignedly. You're not giving up, are you? I need you to tell me your side of the story, as Michael said, getting straight to the point. There are no sides, Michael. There's only what happened. Then tell me what happened. The truth. Daniel served a customer in silence, as if gathering the courage to speak. I didn't take out those loans on a whim, he finally said. I did it because I found out the company was in worse shape than you realized. Dad had hidden serious financial problems in the years before he passed. Michael felt a chill. What problems? Unpaid wages, overdue taxes, suppliers suing us. Dad kept 2 sets of books, one for you to see and the real one. When he passed, you inherited a time bomb. Why didn't he tell me? Because you were the perfect son, Michael. The one who followed in his footsteps, who never questioned anything. He didn't want to disappoint you. And you knew all this? I found out by digging through the files Dad kept locked away. When I saw how bad it was, I tried to tell you so many times, but you were always too busy or changed the subject when I brought up finances. Michael vaguely remembered Daniel trying to schedule meetings about important matters he'd always put off. The loans I took weren't to expand the company, Daniel continued. They were to pay off the hidden debts and keep the business running. I thought if I could stabilize things, I could tell you gradually without shocking you. But why didn't you explain this when I confronted you? Daniel smiled bitterly. Because you'd already decided I was the guilty one. Ever since Dad passed, you treated me like I was a burden, like the company was yours by right and I was just an intruder. Michael opened his mouth to protest, but remembered all the times he'd treated Daniel like a junior partner. When you yelled at me that day, calling me irresponsible and saying I'd destroyed Dad's legacy, Daniel paused. I realized you'd never believe me. So I decided to take the blame and leave. But the debts, Daniel, how did you pay them off? I sold everything I had, My car, my apartment, even the jewelry Grandma left me. I took out more loans in my name to settle the companies. I spent the last 15 years paying interest on debts I took to save the family business. Michael felt the world spinning around him. You sacrificed your life to protect me. I sacrificed my life to protect what Dad built. And to protect you, yes. You were married then, had plans. I was single, had nothing to lose. Daniel, I didn't know. If you had explained to me. Explained what, Michael? That our father wasn't the honorable man you all thought he was. That he'd lied about the company's situation. That you were inheriting a massive problem. I'd rather you hated me than his memory. The tears Michael had been holding back finally streamed down his face. 15 years of guilt, pride, and misunderstandings came crashing down on him. Daniel, forgive me, I was an idiot, a terrible brother. You don't need to apologize, Michael. You did what you thought was best with the information you had. But I should have trusted you, I should have listened. Maybe, but we can't go back now. Michael wiped his eyes and looked around his brother's small stall. Did you finish paying off the debts? Last year, 15 years later, but it's done. And now? What's your plan? Daniel shrugged. Keep working, survive another day. Daniel, do you have a family? Kids? Daniel's face brightened for the first time in their conversation. I have a daughter, Sophia, 15 years old. Where is she? Why isn't she in school? She is in school, a special one. Sophia was born with hearing loss. She's deaf but is learning sign language and lip reading. Michael felt an even sharper pang of guilt. His brother had raised a daughter alone, facing enormous challenges, while he'd lived comfortably unaware of any of it. And her mother? She left when she found out about Sophia's deafness, said she hadn't signed up to raise a disabled child. Daniel's voice was heavy with pain. It was for the best. Sophia didn't deserve to grow up with someone who couldn't accept her as she is. Daniel, let me help. The company's doing well now. I can... No, Daniel was firm. I don't want your help. I don't want anything from the company. But you're my brother. I am. But I'm also a man who's learned to live with dignity even without much. Sophia taught me that wealth isn't about what you have, but who you are. At least let me meet my niece, and let her meet her cousin. Ethan hasn't stopped talking about you since yesterday. Daniel hesitated. Michael realized he'd touched a sensitive subject. I don't know if that's a good idea, Michael. Why not? Because Sophia doesn't know there's a wealthy family who never wanted to meet her. To her, it's always been just the two of us against the world. I don't want her to feel rejected or less than. But she wouldn't be. Jennifer and Ethan would be thrilled to meet her. Does your wife know about this conversation? She does. And she knows about Sophia too. She really wants to meet both of you. Daniel fidgeted nervously with the condiments, clearly conflicted. Let me think about it, okay? Of course. But Daniel, there's one thing I want you to know. Mom never stopped loving you. She talked about you until her last day. I know. I got the letter she left for me. What letter? Jennifer didn't tell you. Your wife gave me a letter from Mom after the funeral. She'd asked to deliver it personally, in case I showed up. Michael stared at Daniel, stunned. Jennifer had kept even this from him. What did the letter say? That she forgave me for everything and hoped that one day you and I would reconcile. That she wanted Sophia to know her family. And you never thought to reach out after that? I did, every day. But I didn't know if you wanted to be found. Michael stepped closer to his brother and, ignoring the waiting customers, pulled him into a tight hug. I do, Daniel. I really do. That night, Michael told Jennifer and Ethan everything. The real version of the story, Daniel's sacrifices, Sophia's existence. Ethan was overjoyed at the news of having a cousin. Does she like to play? How old is she? When can I meet her? Ethan, slow down, Jennifer laughed. Your uncle needs time to talk to your cousin first. Mum, why didn't you tell Dad you knew where Uncle was? Asked Ethan with the sharpness that sometimes surprised adults. Jennifer looked at Michael before answering. Sometimes adults do the wrong things trying to protect the people they love. I thought I was shielding your father from more pain. But then you both ended up hurting even more, right? That's true, sweetheart. Sometimes trying to protect too much ends up causing more pain. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. In the days that followed, Michael began having lunch every day at his brother's stand. The conversations were still a little tense, weighed down by 15 years of resentment, but little by little they became more natural. Daniel talked about his daughter, about the challenges of raising her alone, about how he'd learned sign language to communicate with her. Michael shared stories about Ethan, about the company, about how he'd missed his brother all those years, even if he'd been too proud to admit it. A week after their reunion, Daniel finally agreed to bring Sophia to meet the family. But there's one condition, he said. No pity or special treatment because of her deafness. Sophia is a normal girl who just can't hear. She reads lips very well and is super smart. Of course, Daniel. Jennifer already looked into sign language. She wants to learn some basics to communicate with Sophia. Your wife did that? She did. And Ethan too. He already knows how to say hi, thank you, and nice to meet you in sign language. Daniel smiled, touched by the family's thoughtfulness. The meeting was set for the following Sunday in Central Park. Michael was as nervous as if it were his first time meeting his in-laws. Jennifer had to calm him down several times that morning. Ethan couldn't sit still from excitement. Dad, what if she doesn't like me? What if she thinks I'm silly? Sweetheart, she's going to adore you. You're a kind and funny boy. But what if I don't know how to talk to her right? You'll learn. And you know what's more important than words? The heart. She'll feel that you want to be her friend. When they arrived at the park, they saw Daniel sitting on a bench near the lake, next to a slender teenager with long brown hair and bright eyes. Sophia wore small hearing aids and had a shy but sweet smile. Uncle Daniel, Ethan shouted, running toward them. Sophia was a little startled by the boy's energy, but she smiled when Daniel explained in sign language who Ethan was. Hi, Sophia, said Ethan, making the signs he'd learned. Nice to meet you. Sophia's face lit up. She responded in signs, which Daniel translated. She says she's really happy to know she has a cousin and that you're adorable. Ethan blushed, proud he'd managed to communicate. Jennifer approached carefully and greeted Sophia in sign language too. The girl was visibly moved to see the family had prepared to welcome her. Daniel, she's beautiful, Jennifer said sincerely. Thank you, she's my pride. Michael watched the scene, still processing the fact that he had a niece. Sophia was delicate, but there was a strength in her eyes that reminded him of Daniel himself. Hi, Sophia, I'm your Uncle Michael, he said slowly, to help her read his lips. Sophia smiled and waved. Through Daniel, she said she'd always wanted to meet her family and was happy to finally have one. That afternoon, the kids played while the adults talked. Ethan showed impressive patience and creativity in communicating with Sophia. When he couldn't express himself in signs, he drew in the sand or made exaggerated gestures that made her laugh. She's special, Jennifer commented to Daniel. Yeah. Sophia has taught me more about life than any book or experience I've ever had. She sees beauty where others only see limitations. And what does she want to be when she grows up? A teacher. She wants to teach sign language to hearing and deaf children. She says she wants to build bridges between the two worlds. What a beautiful dream. Michael joined the conversation. Daniel, can I ask you something? Where do you live? In a boarding house in Queens. It's not much, but it's clean, and the landlady is kind to Sophia. A boarding house? Daniel, why don't you rent an apartment? Because I'm still rebuilding my finances. The debts are gone, but there's little left to start over, and Sophia needs special schooling, therapy, hearing aids. It's expensive. Michael felt a lump in his throat. While he lived comfortably, his brother struggled to provide the basics for his daughter. Daniel, let me at least help you with a better apartment. Sophia deserves... No, Michael. We've talked about this. But it's not for you, it's for my niece. She's family. Daniel looked at his daughter playing with Ethan in the sand. I can't accept charity, Michael. It's not charity. It's family taking care of family. To you, it's family. To the rest of the world, we're just poor relatives who appeared out of nowhere. Daniel, that's not true, and you know it. The argument was interrupted by Ethan, who came running. Dad, Sophia wants to know if she can come over someday. I want to show her my games. Daniel and Michael exchanged glances. Of course she can, Michael replied. You're both welcome anytime. Sophia made a few quick signs to her father. What did she say? Jennifer asked. She asked if you really want her to come or if you're just being polite. Tell her we'd love to have her, and she can come as often as she likes, Jennifer said, touched by the girl's uncertainty. The following week, Daniel brought Sophia to dinner at Michael's apartment. The teenager was amazed by the size and luxury of the place, but not in a negative way. She explored everything with curiosity, always asking questions through her father. Ethan made sure to show her his room, his toys, and his books. Sophia was especially interested in the books and said she loved reading. Does she read a lot? Michael asked. Too much, Daniel laughed. It's her way of traveling to other worlds. She's already read more books than I have in my entire life. During dinner, Jennifer had prepared dishes Sophia could eat easily to avoid any discomfort. The girl noticed the care and made sure to thank her. She said she never imagined having family could feel this good. Daniel translated, moved. After dinner, Ethan grabbed his tablet and showed a video he'd found about sign language, a song translated into signs with beautiful, expressive movements. Sophia was delighted and said she knew how to do that too. She stood up and began to sing a song in sign language. Her movements were graceful, full of feeling. Even without hearing the melody, everyone in the room could feel the music through her gestures. When she finished, there were tears in all the adults' eyes. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Jennifer whispered. She's an artist, Michael said, proud of his niece. She's always wanted to perform at a hearing school, Daniel shared. She wants to show that music can be seen, not just heard. Why doesn't she? Because regular schools don't usually accept that kind of performance, and special schools don't have mixed events. Michael and Jennifer exchanged a glance. They were thinking the same thing. Daniel, Jennifer said, Ethan's school is having a cultural fair next month. Each family can present something about their culture or tradition. How about if Sophia performed there? Daniel's eyes filled with tears. You'd really do that? Of course, said Ethan excitedly. It'd be the coolest presentation at the fair. But what if people don't understand? If they think it's weird? Then they'll learn something new, said Michael. And if they don't want to learn, that's their problem. Sophia didn't fully grasp the conversation, but she sensed something important was being discussed. When Daniel explained the idea to her, her face lit up with a mix of joy and fear. She made several quick signs. She wants to know if you won't be ashamed of her, Daniel translated. Ashamed? Jennifer exclaimed. We'll be proud. Tell her she's going to be the star of the fair, Michael added. When Daniel translated, Sophia burst into happy tears. It was the first time in her life someone other than her father had shown genuine pride in her. That night, after Daniel and Sophia left, the family talked about the meeting. Dad, why was Sophia without a family for so long? Ethan asked. Michael sighed, choosing his words carefully. Sometimes adults make mistakes, son. I made a very big one years ago, and that's why I stayed away from Uncle Daniel and Sophia. What mistake? I didn't believe Uncle Daniel when I should have. Because of that, we were apart for a long time. But now you've made up, right? We're trying, Ethan. But 15 years is a long time. It'll take a while to heal all the wounds. Can I help? Michael smiled and hugged his son. You already are, champ. You and Sophia are teaching us that family is more important than any fight. In the days that followed, Jennifer threw herself into preparing for Sophia's performance. She researched music in sign language, spoke with the school administration, and arranged everything so the girl would feel welcome. Michael started spending more time with Daniel, not just during lunches but also in the evenings after work. Little by little, the brothers reconnected, sharing stories of the lost years. One night, Daniel made an important confession. Michael, there's something I never told you. What is it? I kept up with your life all these years. I knew when you got married, when Ethan was born, when the business grew. Mom kept me informed about everything. Why didn't you ever try to contact me? Because I was afraid of ruining your happiness. You'd built a good life without me. I didn't want to be the troubled brother who showed up to complicate things. Daniel, you're not troubled. You never were. But I thought I was. I spent 15 years blaming myself for everything that happened. And I spent 15 years blaming you unfairly. We both wasted a lot of time. Maybe it was necessary. Maybe we needed to grow, to mature, to truly understand each other. You might be right. Today I see things I couldn't at 25. Me too. Now I understand you were just trying to protect what Dad built, in your own way. Back then, all I saw was rejection. The brothers fell silent for a moment, absorbing the weight of their conversation. Michael, can I ask you something? Of course. If I'm ever not here, will you take care of Sophia for me? Daniel, why are you saying this? Are you sick? No, it's not that. It's just, life is uncertain. And now that she has a family, I feel better knowing she won't be alone if something happens to me. Nothing's going to happen to you. And yes, of course we'd take care of Sophia. She's our niece, our family. Thank you, Michael. That means a lot to me. The conversation was interrupted by Ethan, who came downstairs for water and found his father and uncle talking in the living room. Uncle Daniel, are you staying over tonight? No, Ethan. I need to get back home. Sophia is studying for an important test. But you can bring her here to study. I can help. Daniel smiled at his nephew's enthusiasm. Thanks for the offer, champ. But she needs quiet to study, and you talk too much, he teased. I can be quiet. Sometimes. Sometimes isn't enough, Michael laughed. When Ethan went back to his room, Daniel made another comment that touched Michael deeply. Your son is special, Michael. He has a huge heart. It's true. Sometimes I think he's more mature than both of us. Kids have this way of seeing things simply. To Ethan, it doesn't matter that I'm poor or that Sophia is deaf. To him, we're just family. He teaches me every day. Sophia teaches me too. She taught me that limitations are just excuses we make to avoid trying. How so? When she was little, I'd panic thinking about everything she couldn't do because of her deafness. Then one day, she asked me in sign language why I always looked sad when I watched her. Michael felt a tightness in his chest. What did you say? I told her I wasn't sad, just worried. And she replied, Dad, I can't hear, but I can see, feel, smell, touch. I can read, write, think, dream. I can love and be loved. Why do you worry about the one thing I can't do instead of being happy about all the things I can? Michael swallowed hard. How old was she? 10 years old, and she was already wiser than me. She's right, Sophia is an amazing girl. Yeah, and you know what impresses me most about her? She's never been angry about being deaf, never played the victim. She just accepted it as her reality and found ways to be happy anyway. She's strong like her father. No, Michael, she's strong because she had no choice. I had a choice and I still spent 15 years feeling sorry for myself. You didn't play the victim. You took on responsibilities that weren't yours and paid a high price for it. Maybe. But now that I've found you all again, I realize I wasted too much time punishing myself for decisions I made with the best intentions. We both wasted time, Daniel. But what matters is we're together now. During the week of the school's cultural fair, the whole family was on edge. Sophia had rehearsed her performance countless times, but was nervous about presenting to a hearing audience. What if they don't understand? She asked her father the morning of the event. If they don't understand, that's not your problem, Daniel replied. You'll do your best, and that's all that matters. But I want them to like it. They will, Princess. How could anyone not like someone so talented? Ethan was even more nervous than Sophia. Dad, what if someone is rude to her? If someone is rude, we'll teach them manners, Michael said firmly, but I don't want her to be sad. Ethan, your cousin is stronger than you think. She's faced many challenges in life. She'll be fine. When they arrived at the school, Jennifer had prepared everything. A small stage, a sound system for those who wanted to follow along with the music, and even a sign language interpreter to translate the performance for the audience. Sophia was amazed by all the effort. Aunt Jennifer did all this for me, she signed. She did, Daniel replied, moved. She wants you to feel special. I already do. I never thought I'd have a family who cared so much about me. When it was time for the performance, Sophia stepped onto the stage wearing a light blue dress Jennifer had bought just for the occasion. She was nervous, but determined. Ethan stood in the front row, making encouraging signs he'd learned especially for this moment. Sophia began her presentation. It was a song about hope, about overcoming, about finding light in the darkness. Her movements were fluid, expressive, full of feeling. Even without hearing the melody, everyone in the auditorium could feel the emotion she conveyed. In the middle of the performance, some children began to mimic her movements, trying to follow the music she sang with her hands. When she finished, the auditorium erupted in applause. Sophia, who couldn't hear the ovation, sensed from people's expressions and the vibrations of the floor that it had been a success. Ethan stepped onto the stage and hugged his cousin, proud. Daniel wept openly, and Michael Thompson and Jennifer couldn't contain their emotions. After the performance, several people approached Sophia. Children wanted to learn basic signs. Teachers asked about the possibility of including sign language in the curriculum, and some parents shared how moved they were by the performance. "Is she your daughter?" a mother asked Daniel. "Yes, my pride." "She's incredible. What a talent." "Thank you. She worked hard to get here." A teacher approached Michael Thompson. "Have you considered entering Sophia in sign language performance competitions? She has a natural gift." "There are competitions like that?" Michael asked, surprised. "There are, and she'd have a great chance to shine." When the fair ended, the family went out to dinner to celebrate. Sophia was radiant, still processing all the love she'd received. "How did you feel up there?" Jennifer asked. "For the first time in my life, I felt normal," Sophia replied through Daniel. "Not like the deaf girl, but like a girl with a special talent." "You've always been normal, sweetheart," Daniel said. "The problem is the world sometimes takes a while to understand that." "Today the world understood," Ethan said, smiling. That night, after Daniel and Sophia had left, Michael Thompson kept thinking about how his life had changed in just a few weeks. He'd regained his brother, gained a wonderful niece, and learned valuable lessons about family, forgiveness, and second chances. "What's on your mind?" Jennifer asked, lying beside him. "How I almost lost all this because of pride." "But you didn't. And now you have a whole lifetime ahead to make up for lost time." "That's true. But sometimes I think about how much suffering could have been avoided if I'd been less stubborn." "Michael, you can't change the past, but you can make better choices now." "What choices?" "For example, you could stop blaming yourself for what happened and start focusing on how you can help Daniel and Sophia now." Michael looked at his wife, realizing she was right. "What do you think I should do?" "Daniel won't accept charity, but he might accept a partnership." "How so?" "He's an excellent cook. You've seen how well-made and tasty his snacks are, and he knows a lot about management even if he hasn't used it in years." "Are you suggesting I offer him a partnership?" "I'm suggesting you find a way to include him in the business without hurting his pride. Something that benefits both of you, not disguised charity." Michael pondered his wife's suggestion. Jennifer had always been good at finding creative solutions to complex problems. The next day, instead of meeting Daniel at the stand, Michael invited him to lunch at a nearby restaurant. "Is something wrong?" Daniel asked, puzzled by the formal invitation. "I want to make you a business proposal." "Michael, we've talked about this. Hear me out first, then decide." Daniel sighed but agreed to listen. "The company is growing fast. We're thinking about diversifying, entering new markets. One of the sectors we've considered is food." "Food?" "Specifically, a chain of gourmet diners. Fast food but high quality, for executives who don't have time to eat at expensive restaurants." Daniel looked at him skeptically. "And where do I fit into this story?" "You understand food. Your sandwiches are better than any overpriced diner I've ever tried. And you know management even if you're a little rusty. Michael, I sell hot dogs on the street. That doesn't qualify me to run a diner chain. Daniel, you managed half a company when you were 22. You raised a daughter alone while paying off millions in debt. You've survived 15 years in one of the toughest jobs out there. If that doesn't qualify you, I don't know what does." Daniel fell silent, processing the offer. What exactly are you proposing? A real partnership. You come in as managing partner of the new division, develop the products, oversee operations, handle the administrative side. I'll provide the startup capital and support from the parent company. And how would profits be split? 50-50. Like it should have been from the start. Daniel looked at his brother with a mix of gratitude and suspicion. Why are you doing this, Michael? Because I need you. It's not charity, it's necessity. I know construction. You understand people, food, survival. Together we can make this work. And if it doesn't, then at least we tried, as brothers. Daniel stared at his hands, clearly conflicted. I need to talk to Sophia about this. Of course. Take all the time you need. Michael, if I say yes, there's one condition. What? No special treatment. If I don't perform, you fire me like any other employee. Daniel, you wouldn't be an employee. You'd be my partner. Still, I want this to be professional, not a favor between brothers. Fine, I accept your terms. That night, Daniel talked at length with Sophia about the offer. The teenager, with her wisdom beyond her years, asked important questions he hadn't considered. Dad, do you want to do this because you want to, or because you feel obligated to Uncle Michael? I want to, sweetheart. I've always loved cooking and managing. It's a chance to use my skills again. And if it fails, if you two fight again, it's a risk we'll have to take, but I think we've both learned from past mistakes. And if it works, what changes for us? If it works, we'll have stability. You can go to college without me drowning in debt. You can have the best hearing aids. You can chase your dreams. Dad, I don't need a rich life to be happy. I need you happy and at peace. And I am happy, Sophia. For the first time in 15 years, I really am. Then say yes, but only if it's for you, not for me. How did you get so wise at 15? Learn from the best teacher there is, she said, smiling. 3 days later, Daniel gave Michael his answer. I accept, but I want everything formalized in a contract. No handshake deals between brothers. Of course, I've already scheduled a meeting with the company lawyer for next week. And I want to start small. One diner to test the market. Agreed. Where were you thinking? Wall Street area. Busy executives, no time for lunch, willing to pay a little more for quality. Perfect. And what would set our diner apart? Honest food, quality ingredients, made fresh, fair prices, no gimmicks, but no shortcuts either. Michael smiled, exactly what he'd hoped to hear. There's one more thing, Daniel said. I want Sophia involved in the project. How so? She'll be 16 soon. She wants to start working, earn her independence. I thought she could help with social media, marketing, that kind of thing. She understands the internet better than both of us combined. That's a great idea. And Ethan can help by testing the recipes, joked Michael. Ethan can help by eating the recipes. Testing is a job for the adults. The brothers laughed, and Michael realized that for the first time in 15 years, he and Daniel were making plans together. In the following weeks, the whole family got involved in the diner project. Jennifer helped with the decor and design of the place. Ethan gave his 2 cents about what snacks kids would like. Sophia created a social media profile and started posting about the preparations. Daniel worked day and night developing recipes, testing combinations, adjusting seasonings. His experience on the streets had taught him a lot about what people really wanted to eat. Michael handled the bureaucratic side, licenses, contracts, suppliers. He found that working with his brother was easier and more productive than he'd imagined. Daniel had creative ideas he'd never have come up with alone, and Michael had the business experience Daniel needed. A month before the opening, a problem arose. The owner of the commercial space they'd chosen backed out at the last minute. He preferred renting to a big chain that guaranteed payment for several years. Now what? Asked Daniel, discouraged. Now we look for another spot, replied Michael, pragmatic. But that one was perfect. Ideal location, good price, right size. It was. But it's not the only commercial space in New York City. Michael, what if this is a sign it's not meant to work out? Daniel, you're talking like I did 15 years ago. Pessimistic, seeing problems where there are only obstacles. Maybe I'm becoming like you. Daniel laughed humorlessly. If you are, then I'll have to be the optimist of the pair. And as the optimist, I say we'll find an even better place. How can you be so sure? Because I believe in us. I believe in the project. And I believe we deserve this second chance. Michael's confidence rubbed off on Daniel. Over the next 2 weeks, they visited dozens of commercial spaces. Some were too expensive, others poorly located, others too small. It was Sophia who found the solution. Researching online, she discovered a small restaurant in Williamsburg was closing. The owner was moving to another state and wanted to sell the space quickly. "Dad, look at this," she showed him on the tablet. "The place has a fully equipped kitchen, a good location, and the price is right. Williamsburg is very different from Wall Street," Daniel noted. "It's different, but it could be better," said Michael. "Younger crowd, willing to try new things, busy all day." "And there's another advantage," Sophia added. "Williamsburg has a lot of nightlife. We could stay open later." "The girl's right," Daniel agreed. "It's at least worth checking out." When they visited the place, all three were impressed. It was smaller than the original spot, but cozier. The kitchen was well equipped, and the location was excellent. "What do you think?" asked Michael. "I like it," said Daniel. "It has potential." "Dad, this would be perfect for hosting events too," Sophia suggested. "Like sign language music nights, for example." The idea of special events excited Daniel. "We could do themed nights, food from different regions of the country, live music." "Now you're speaking my language," Michael laughed. "Let's close the deal." The opening was scheduled for a Friday in late November. The whole family was anxious but confident. The menu was ready, the staff trained, the decor finished. Sophia had created a social media marketing campaign that had already generated a lot of buzz. Ethan had told all his school friends about his uncle's diner. On the eve of the opening, Daniel couldn't sleep. He got up in the middle of the night and went to the location to make sure everything was in order. He found Michael there, doing the same thing. "Couldn't sleep either?" Michael asked. "I'm nervous," admitted Daniel. "Me too." "But it's a good kind of nervous. How can you be sure?" "Because 15 years ago, when I opened my first project, I felt the same way, and it worked out. But this time, we're in it together. Both the success and the failure will be shared." "I prefer it that way," Michael said. "Success isn't as sweet alone, and failure hurts less when someone's there to share it. We're not going to fail, Daniel. Not this time." On opening day, a line formed even before the doors opened. Sophia was radiant, welcoming the first customers and explaining the diner's concept in sign language and English. Ethan stood at the door, handing out flyers and inviting people to try the best sandwiches in New York City. Jennifer coordinated everything behind the scenes, making sure supplies didn't run out and service stayed quick. Michael and Daniel worked side by side in the kitchen, like a perfectly synchronized team. Each knew exactly what the other would do before they did it. The first day was an absolute success. They sold more than expected, received praise from nearly every customer, and several people asked when they could come back. At the end of the day, when they counted the earnings, Daniel couldn't believe the numbers. "Michael, this can't be right. It's too much for a first day." "It's right. And you know why? Because we offered something people were looking for without even realizing it. Good food, caring service, and a welcoming atmosphere. And because we have the best marketing team in New York City," Daniel joked, looking at Sophia and Ethan, who were exhausted but happy. "Dad, can I ask for something?" Sophia said. "Of course, sweetheart. Can I organize a special event here? A sign language music night? Do you think people would come?" "I'm sure of it. I already have lots of ideas." Michael and Daniel exchanged glances and smiled. "You can organize it," Michael said, "but let's do it right. With professional musicians, interpreters, everything as it should be." "Really?" Sophia's eyes sparkled. "Really? You gave us the idea that made this business work. Now you can give us ideas for events too." In the following months, the diner became a growing success. The special nights organized by Sophia attracted diverse crowds and built a loyal customer base. Ethan became something of a mascot for the place. always there on weekends, helping where he could and charming customers with his friendliness. Jennifer discovered a passion for the administrative side of the business and started helping with accounting and strategic planning. 6 months after the opening, Michael and Daniel decided to expand, not into more diners but into corporate catering services. "We have the capacity to do so much more," Daniel said during a meeting, "and there are plenty of companies out there needing quality food service for their employees." "It's a good idea," Michael agreed, "but it'll take more investment and more staff. I have an idea for that," Sophia said. "What if we partnered with culinary schools? Students could intern with us and we'd help with their training." "Sophia, that's brilliant," Jennifer said. "Motivated interns, lower costs for us and a social contribution. And we could prioritize deaf students," Daniel added. "Show they can work in any field." The idea was implemented and became a milestone in the company's history. Within a few months, they had a diverse, efficient, and highly motivated team. A year after opening, Brothers Diner, a name suggested by Ethan, was considered one of the best dining options in Williamsburg. It had a loyal clientele, regular events, and a catering service that served many businesses in the area. More important than the financial success, Michael and Daniel had completely rebuilt their relationship. They worked together every day, made decisions jointly, and had become the best friends they were in childhood once again. Sophia had grown into a confident and entrepreneurial young woman. At 16, she was already planning to study business and marketing to help expand the family's ventures. Ethan, now 8 years old, told everyone he wanted to be a businessman just like Dad and Uncle when he grew up. One December evening, exactly a year after their first conversation at the hot dog stand, the whole family gathered at the diner to celebrate the anniversary of their reunion. "Can you believe a year ago I was selling hot dogs on the street?" said Daniel, looking around the packed restaurant. "You still sell hot dogs," Ethan teased. "They're just gourmet now." "True," Daniel laughed. "Some things never change." "Others change for the better," said Michael, hugging his brother. "Dad," Sophia said, "can I make a speech?" "Of course, sweetheart." Sophia stood up and began speaking in sign language. As he always did at events, Daniel translated for the listeners. "She's saying that a year ago, our family was just me and her. Today, our family has 5 people who truly love each other," Sophia continued. "She says she's learned that family isn't just about sharing the same blood. It's about who chooses to stand together, who cares, who helps in tough times." More signs. She thanks her cousin Ethan for having such a big heart that he brought 2 separate families together, and Aunt Jennifer for teaching her that love has no barriers. Sophia looked directly at Michael, and she thanks Uncle Michael for having the courage to admit he was wrong and for giving her dad the chance to prove himself. Finally, Sophia turned to Daniel, and she thanks me for never giving up on her, even when the world seemed impossible. And for teaching her that second chances are sometimes even better than first chances. When Daniel finished translating, there wasn't a dry eye in the diner. The customers, staff, and family present applauded emotionally. "Now I want to make a speech," said Ethan, not wanting to be left out. "Go ahead, champ," Michael encouraged. "I just want to say I'm the luckiest boy in the world because I have the best dad, the best mom, the best uncle, and the best cousin ever, and because now our family is complete." More applause, more tears, more hugs. That night, after everyone had left, Michael and Daniel stayed behind to clean up. "Michael, can I tell you something?" "Sure. Thank you." "Thank you for what?" "For forgiving me, for giving me a second chance, for showing me it's never too late to start over." "Daniel, I'm the one who should be thanking you. You taught me that pride isn't worth more than family. That forgiving frees the one who forgives, not just the one who's forgiven. We've both learned a lot this year, and we'll learn even more in the years to come." The brothers finished tidying up and got ready to leave. "Michael?" "Yeah? Would our dad be proud of us?" Michael looked around the diner, thinking of everything they'd built together. "I'm sure he would, Daniel. I'm sure he'd be very proud." 2 years later, the Thompson brothers owned 3 establishments in the city and had plans to expand to other major cities. Sophia had become a respected digital influencer, using her platform to promote inclusion and rights for people with hearing disabilities. Ethan, now 10 years old, remained the heart of the family, always finding ways to bring everyone around him even closer. Michael and Daniel never fought again. They learned to disagree without hurting each other, to make decisions together, and to cherish the partnership they had built. Most importantly, they learned that family is the most precious thing in life, and that second chances, when embraced wisely, can be even better than first opportunities. And it all began with a 7-year-old boy who had the courage to point to a street vendor and say, "Dad, that man looks like your brother from the old photos." The end of the story. Now, tell us what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your heartfelt words in the comments. Do you think Michael made the right decision by forgiving Daniel? We'd love to read your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like the video, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.